So hello guys, welcome to Java Jism, and in this video we can talk about a Spring Boot. But before going to talk about the Spring Boot, first we understood what is the Spring framework and how we are coming from a Spring framework to a Spring Boot, and what are the new technology we are going to learn further, and before the Spring what are the technology we have to learn already. Okay, so those things we can understand here. So many people having a confusion like which one we have to learn. Can we learn for first Spring framework, or can I directly start with a Spring Boot? So people's having those confusions, so we can talk about each and everything very easily. Okay, and I hope you understood those things. Okay, so let me start now. So the peoples who learned Java, they understood, okay, how to write a code and how to understood a basic language and how to interact with the computers. Okay, so Java is just a language. It's a way to interact with the computers, and if it is required, you can develop a one console based applications which is going to run in the computer console. You can't run in the any browsers or something like you can't host it somewhere. So that is not possible, and that is the single software or single alone applications which is going to run in one of the particular system. Okay, so we have developed through the Java, which is console application. Okay, console application, console app, and you can use it, but you can use in the one system only. If you want to share this to someone, you have to give the software with the pen drive. Okay, so this is the way we are sharing those code to someone and they are using it. But nowadays little bit enhancement is happen, and from the console based application we came to the applet or Swing. So if you know the Spring, if you know the Java, definitely you heard about like what is the Swing, what is the applet. So now people are developing the Swing based application. Swing means they will provide one UI. UI means in this Swing they will provide a feature called button. What are the layout if you want, so you can design your layout, button, action, whatever the things you want, you are able to see here in front of my system. Those you can design it. Okay, so those are the Swing based applications, and you can see the color based also. Okay, applet means like it's a browser based application also, and you can use it and you can utilize it also. But the problem is like this is not a secure, that is not a capability to like expand it, and if you write lots of the codes, it will not become a modular. Okay, so that is some drawback it's happened. So people are not interested to see the console based application, they are not interested to see the Swing applet UI also. Those are also not good, and it took lots of the time to design it also. Okay, now finally they have shifted to the servlet. So servlet is little bit easy. Okay, how it's easy is like in the servlets, in one click you can, they will give one page, and in that page whatever things you want you can just write it and you can deploy, and it's a browser based application. Okay, you can develop a browser based app or web application, you can say. Okay, for interacting with the servlet with the database, we are using with the JDBC. Okay, any database you can use it. Okay, but we are taking the help of the JDBC. So this is the one JDBC, Java database connectivity, which is helping to communicate with the database by the help of the servlet. Okay, now servlet is also very complicated, and we have to write lots of the code and lots of the servlet page. The peoples are finally shifted to the JSP, and JSP is nothing but this is the tag based programming language like HTML, CSS, like HTML, not CSS. So tag based. So in tag base we have some capability to write a UI code which is HTML inside the JSP page, and JSP tag also we can write and we can work with that. So it's a very little bit easy, but whatever the things you have seen as of now, with that you can't make the very big applications. Okay, and it's not give that much better performance which we want. Okay, so finally people are shifted to the structs. Okay, then after structs and EJB, those are the framework. They are combining to the servlet and JSP, and they develop one framework called structs and another framework called EJB. So struct is an open source framework that extends the Java servlet API and employ model view, and they are working in the MVC architecture, model view controller. In the same way, they have introduced the EJB. It's a server-side software component that encapsulated business logic of a application, and EJB web application container provides a runtime environment for the web related software component including computer security, Java servlet lifecycles and management. You can manage the transaction processing also and other web server also. So in that time they are the boss of the market, Struts and EJB, but still they have some issue like performance issue maybe, or they are not having like to the expand at a big server, or make it a big software. Okay, that is not possible with the Struts and EJB, and lots of the codes we have to write in that also, and those are not good enough performance. So finally they have come up with the Spring framework. Okay, Spring framework. So finally they have introduced the framework, a Spring framework, and this Spring framework become too much popular in the market. Okay, and this framework have a capability to handle each and everything of entire project. Okay, so in that project you don't want to write anything separately, each and everything you can write inside this and you can use it. Okay, so that is very expandable also, and very easily you can integrate with any applications, and that is very suitable for the work with the Spring framework. Okay, so people enjoying to using the Spring framework, and finally they are starting using it. Okay, so a Spring framework is nowadays also so many companies are using the Spring framework itself, because they are using the Spring framework, they have already developed their application and those applications are very big, so they don't want to shift in the some other technology or maybe a Spring Boot or maybe Quarkus, because if they want to shift it they have to follow lots of the things. Okay, but if it is already developed then no need to shift it, because internally a Spring Boot also using the Spring concept and each and everything. Okay, so nowadays who is the boss of the market? A Spring framework. Okay, let's go to the new slides and let's see what is the Spring framework and how we are using it. So the Spring framework is a popular open source Java based framework that provides a comprehensive support for building a robust scalable enterprise application. So robust and scalable enterprise we are not able to achieve with the EJB or Struts or maybe Servlet or maybe the JSP. So people will come up with a Spring framework. It was developed by the Rod Johnson in 2003 and has since become the cornerstone in the Java ecosystem. Cornerstone means it's a heart of the technology of Java ecosystem. A Spring follow the inversion of control, which is very popular, and maybe in the interview room the people will ask you what is the IOC container. So you have to explain it, like what is the inversion of control. The full form is inversion of control. So what is the IOC and what it will do. So principle and promotes the modular and flexible architectures, making it suitable for a wide range of application types. So if you want to develop very big application, then definitely you have to choose the Spring framework. It's only one solution based on the Java applications, and it will provide the full security on that also. Okay, let's move to the next, and let's understand what is the some key features of the Spring components, features of the components of the Spring framework, and why it's so popular. Okay, so Spring will provide the inversion of control and dependency injection. Okay, so inversion of control, shorthand we are saying IOC. So IOC is the core principle of the Spring framework. It helps to manage the dependency between the different components by allowing the framework to control the creations and life cycle of the object. I hope maybe you don't know what is the dependency injection, you don't know what is the inversion of control, but I will explain you little bit. So inversion of control means it's handle the life cycle of project. Maybe if you start your project, from that whatever the object is created in your applications, when it will destroy, from that entire things it will handle. Dependency injection means if some classes or some object creation is dependent on some other object. If you don't know, go to my design patterns. You understood what is the dependency injection. In dependency injections we have learned like what is the setter injection, what is the constructor injections. With the help of the setter injection, how we are creating the object. With the help of the constructor injection, how we are creating the object. Okay, so dependency injection means one class or one object is dependent on some other object or some other classes to create an object, that is called a dependency injections. Okay, so let's see the next line. So control the creations and life cycle of the object. So inversion of control, it will handle entire things. Dependency of injection is a concrete implementation of IOC where objects are injected into the dependent component rather than the component creating them directly. This promotes loose coupling and facilitate easier testing and maintenance. Okay, so dependency injection, I already told you, like setter injection or constructor injections. It's a dependent between one class to another class, that is called dependency injections we are saying. Okay, aspect oriented programming we can see in the details upcoming videos. It's a very important topics. The benefits of the AOP is like if you give some instructions to do something, it will automatically do that time you don't want to do anything. So it's like a cross-cutting concern such as the logging, security and transaction management. Those things you can maintain with that also. Okay, that is called AOP. We will discuss about it. A Spring container. A Spring container is responsible of managing the application beans. What is the beans? Beans, I hope you don't know if you are first time learning the Spring Boot. So beans means some object. At the rate bean we have a one annotations. I hope you know the annotations in the Java, like at the rate override, at the rate we are using like override while overriding a methods, at the rate some custom annotations we can create our own and we can denote with our maybe the method or classes we can define it. Okay, in the same way it's a beans means object. If you are creating some object, that means we are defining some beans. And their life cycle, it's create and manage object using the dependency injection, DI. Whenever you see DI, it means dependency injection, thereby providing a consistent and cohesive mechanism for managing the components. Okay, a Spring beans. So a Spring beans in the Spring, it's an object that managed by the Spring container. These beans can be configured using the XML, Java annotations or Java configuration classes also. So earlier, if you are working with the Spring, definitely you have some of the project the people are going with the XML configuration. Sometimes the people are going with the Java annotation configuration, and sometimes Java classes configurations also, that is possible. Okay, but easy, I think people are going with the XML only. Spring MVC, the Spring Web MVC model view controllers. So what is the Spring MVC? We will learn a Spring Boot MVC. So here if you see a Spring MVC, it's a model view controller and it's a one of the design pattern also. It's provide a framework to robust infrastructure for building a web application. It's follow the MVC patterns where requests are handled by the controllers which interact with the models, okay, and logics and return views, HTML, JSON, etc. to the client. Okay, so model view controller means, model means the people who is storing your data. Controller means whenever request will come, they will control it, they will accept it. And view means the page, JSP page or HTML page we are transferring, or maybe you are redirecting to that page. That is the page, or maybe you can send to the HTML or JSON, anything data. That is called view. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is the some key features component of the Spring. We are talking about a Spring only. Just I am introducing those concepts because if you know those, then only easily you can grab the idea like what it will do and why we are using it. Okay, if you see, this is the one of the main concept which is a Spring data. So a Spring data will handle the whatever the database connectivity we have, how we can store your data in the database, those things it will maintain. Okay, a Spring security means it will provide the customizable security framework like basic security, authentication, authorizations, or maybe the people will not access without JWT token or without valid authentication. So those security part we can see in the Spring security. Now we can see a Spring Boot security. Now let's see a Spring Boot. So a Spring Boot is a key features of the Spring itself. Okay, so it means a Spring is a whole home. It's a very big Spring, but inside the Spring having a one little bit a Spring Boot. Okay, so a Spring Boot is one of the other component key features of the Spring, which is helping us to develop your application very fast without configuration, and you can develop productions ready code in one click. That is the benefit we have with the help of the Spring Boot. If you learn it, a Spring Boot is a sub project of the Spring framework that simplify the process of creating a standalone production ready a Spring application. It's come with the pre-configured. You don't want to configure anything. if you do the project in the Spring, you have to write lots of the configuration in the XML or maybe the Java classes configurations. Why? Because whenever it's need, we have to inject it, we have to do the dependency injections, we have to take care of the dependency injection, those things, and we have to configure it and we have to maintain it. But in a Spring Boot, they are saying, hey, you don't want to do anything, I will do each and everything for you. So that is called pre-configured. And default embedded server. If you work with the Spring framework, definitely you have to take the help of any server. Okay, server means Tomcat, JT, maybe WebLogics. Those are the servers. Those servers are helping to deploy our application in browsers or run our applications. Okay, but in the Spring Boot, you don't want any servers. It will provide embedded servers. Okay, so you don't want to think about the server also if you are learning the Spring Boot. But in the Spring, definitely you have to think about which server you want to use it. Okay, and it's reducing the setup and configurations of overhead. So definitely if they are reducing pre-configuration, they are providing embedded server also, standalone production ready code also, then you don't want to think about anything. Just one click and you can create your application and you can start writing your business logic. That is the benefit of the Spring Boot. But in a Spring, you have to write lots of the configuration, lots of this, you have to think about the servers, you have to configure it, you have to write lots of the extra other code also apart from your business logic. Okay, so because of that, people are shifting to the Spring Boot. But let's see some more benefit of the Spring. A Spring integration. A Spring integration provides the support for building a messaging based application. Okay, that is called like MQ, messaging queue, or maybe Apache Kafka. If you want to integrate, you can integrate easily with the Spring. So they will provide one more feature called Spring integration. A Spring Batch. A Spring Batch is a module that simplify batch processing tasks such as data processing, batch jobs, and handle the large scale processing efficiently, and can be used the task to data import and export the generation and more. So a Spring Batch is also very important concept, and we will learn a Spring Boot batch. Okay, so whatever things you are able to see here, those things we can convert to the Spring Boot also. Okay, a Spring Cloud. A Spring Cloud provided tools and library for building a cloud native application. It's offer features like a server discovery, configuration management, load balancing, circuit breakers, and many more. So those things also we can do in the Spring Boot. Okay, but these are the concept we are internally used in the Spring Boot, but might be you can not see exactly what we have, where we have done and where it's configured. But in a Spring Boot, each and everything you have to configure. Okay, let's see Spring framework modules. So a Spring framework modules, if you see, there is lots of the Spring framework modules. Okay, so this is the first modules, which is a Spring core container. So everyone recommend like, hey, first learn the Spring core, then only start the Spring Boot. It's not required. If you have little bit minds and if you have little bit idea, you can start working with the Spring Boot. No need to talk about a Spring core container or anything. Okay, AOP I will cover in details. A Spring JDBC, definitely we can cover it, JDBC template. A Spring ORM, object relational mapping, those we can cover in the Spring Boot. A Spring Web, a Spring Boot Web we can cover it. A Spring Security, a Spring Data, a Spring Integration, a Spring Batch, Test, a Spring Web Service, Aspects, a Spring Messaging, a Spring Sessions, and final and last, which is a Spring Framework Documentations. So those are the very important topics which having a Spring. Okay, so I only suggest you, these are the topics which I have given you the as a name only, and I have not covered it, but I request you to please pause this video, take the screenshot and read these details one by one in the details and try to understand what exactly it's saying. Okay, and whatever the previous also I have explained, like those key features, those also I will request you to go one by one and try to search on the Googles and try to see some picture regarding that, try to see some concept and try to learn some about it. Okay, once you learn it, you can become familiar with the Spring framework, and once you become familiar with the Spring framework, then I can easily explain you the Spring Boot, and you didn't face any like I'm not able to understand, so some things I am not able to grab it. Okay, so please go and try to understand and try to learn at least this PDF and take the screenshot, pause your videos and try to learn it. Okay, it will give you the massive benefit to you. Okay, and in the next sessions we can come up with some more video which is a spring introduction, a spring boot introductions, and slowly we can start a spring boot, and then after other concept we can cover it. But the starting video, it's a very important, and only request is go and understand and try to understand these topics or these features, those modules. At least if you remember the module's name, that is the good enough to crack your interview. Okay, in the interview the people are directly asking these questions. Hey, do you know what is the AOP? Do you know what is the spring security? Do you know what is the spring JDBC? So at least if you know one or two line, that is good enough to tell in front of the interviewers. Okay, so that's why I'm saying please go and learn about it. Okay, at least learn this PDF. Okay, and if you have any doubt, please comment below sections. Okay, I will help you in that. Okay, and thank you so much. I hope you understood the spring framework and why we are going to learn the spring framework, and after that we can learn the spring boot modules also. Okay, thank you so much.